Hello and welcome to the Glittervoid Podcast. It's me, your wildest dream, your worst nightmare, and Titan of Joy, Jubilee.
And I'm Deena, the other host of the show.
How many times have we tried to get this started? Two. Let's pretend like it's
This is,
more.
I think this is actually number three.
Okay,
Um,
three? That's
Especially
not
if
so
you
bad.
count like the time where we tried to record a couple of days ago, and then neither of us were just like in the headspace to record.
We were
That counts.
both late to
That
the
counts.
recording.
Yeah, we were both like,
If two
yeah.
podcasters are both late for a recording, did it even happen? Do 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 do.
I'm definitely not a tree that fell, so I do make noise.
Tina, what made you happy in and out of the hobby this week, Dina?
So late last night is actually the reason I'm so tired and was running late because I overslept. I found a new video assist on YouTube that was I had a lot of
Ooh.
fun with, and I'm going to go down a rabbit hole tonight. Her name is Mia Cole, and the video that caught my attention was a video from about 2 years ago called "Internet Corruption," and it's
Ooh.
about basically the way that internet culture and real life have been blending together in a large capacity, especially for millennial and younger generations. Um, it was really
Interesting.
good, really well done. It had a lot of like fast-paced, quippy stuff, much like the person I found her through was CJVX. Very bombastic and fast talking, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. What about you?
My thing this week that made me happy is Sprue Goo. Because about 45 minutes before we started recording, I the Mortarian model that I've been working on for probably about 20 hours, just for him, even more for the mount that he's gonna have. I dropped him directly on his head, and bizarrely, the model was almost completely undamaged. There was one little chip out of major support, but a combination of pretty solid modeling at the beginning of things, and I was also pretty proud of myself for not freaking out because I've been known to do that. But yeah, Mortarion just has a small crack in his wing, and I'm gonna put some gooey resin on there and just hope for the best.
I can't wait to see how gooey it looks. So, Joe, today is right.
Today is a little bit of a different episode, isn't it?
It is. Today is going to be our Q&A episode. You posted a video on TikTok asking people to send in Q&A questions, and then we posted to our Discord. There'll be a link in the description on how to get into that if you would like to join us. It's a great community, a bunch of really cool people, new, old, experienced hobbyists. Um, a lot of really cool LGBT subject matter that gets talked about in one of the channels, and just great community. I'm really
Yeah,
happy with the group that we've cultivated here.
it's really getting to be a lot
But
of fun.
they have given us a breadth of questions, and it's a lot. It's about 2 pages. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read them. Jubilee has not seen these questions, and I can't wait to see some
I
of
saw
them.
some of them, but I'm excited to actually get quite a few comments on TikTok, so we'll see how many of these I
Yes.
remember.
Yes, and there might even have been some from since I got these written down because wrote them down when we were originally supposed to record last week, but
Ooh,
they're still here. So let's get started.
let's
This is
do
one
it.
we get a lot, actually. What got you into Warhammer and what keeps you in the hobby?
Uh, definitely told this story before, but the thing that got me into the
Yeah.
hobby was I had been, I'll try to make this concise. I had been just kind of casually aware of Warhammer and reading the lore and even painting minis for many, many years, but the game always just looked a little silly. Fast forward to this would have been 2023, like maybe April or March. I was out on a date with a girl who we started talking, we're just like, what are your hobbies? And she started talking about Warhammer, and I'm like, oh, I've got I knew a lot about the lore back then, but nothing about the game. And she invited me back to her place to look at her Warhammer stuff, which I thought was I thought it was, oh, you want me to come look at your Warhammer stuff? Okay, it's not my first time along the around the block, sweetheart. I know what this is. Turns out she actually did want to show me her Warhammer stuff. A delightful ad mech army, which I knew a little bit about, and a few weeks later, I was like, "Is there a way that I can like practice playing this game to see if I like it?" Because I know it's expensive, and that just kind of went on from there, and now we play fairly regularly.
Yeah,
So
she's a great
sometimes,
person and a dear friend of mine too.
yeah, sometimes a Warhammer army is just a Warhammer army.
Sometime.
How about you, Dina? How'd you initially get into Warhammer?
My story is actually kind of depressing. I so back in 2020, I got robbed. I was a lifelong Magic player. I played Magic starting in 2000. Yes, I'm actually older than I look. I get that a lot. I've been doing this for a long time. And my collection of 20 plus years got stolen in
Oof.
2020. So I broke into my house, stole just my Magic collection, which was a lot of money. And I was really distraught about it. I was questioning gender issues at the time, which kind of distracted from it for a while. Um, and then I bounced from a couple of different like distraction until a friend of mine went, "Hey, I'm getting back into Warhammer. You need a distraction. Take these Necrons. Paint these Necrons. Okay, cool. Oh, that's a lot of fun. Oh, I'm good at this. This is dangerous." I still have the first 40K model I painted. I painted a D&D mini back then too that looks like absolute ass. Um,
I wish I
which
had
was
knew
a
where
few.
mine was. My first one.
Mine is in my car. I because it had been a D&D mini for a game that I was playing at a bar. So I just kept the mini there to make sure I had it. And then I stopped playing like right after I finished painting it. And then jumped down to the Warhammer bit, and I painted a Hexmark destroyer, not a Hexmark destroyer, a Locust destroyer, was my first model that I ever painted for 40K. Came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how it looks, and now I do this non-stop. Yeah,
Non-stop. Oh
I,
yeah, good
I
first question.
yeah. So thank you, person who robbed me, I guess. Next question. What is a good list of starter materials, i.e., brushes, paints, tools, etc., that is good for getting into painting?
My one of my recommendations was until like maybe a year ago, I didn't use fancy brushes and I had a pretty large amount of craft paints that I would non-mini specific craft paints. It's very easy to go out and spend $50 on a pair of clippers and $100 on an X-Acto knife. You don't need expensive tools at first. Craft paint, I'm kind of to the point where like half the fun for me is honestly buying paints. I have a huge paint collection. I very much don't think though that like you need to spend a ton of money on the equipment at first. It also helps you kind of I had this weird little, I think it was a size 0 synthetic brush that even though the tip was curved, it's not this one. I don't know, I'm holding it up. But like I used that for like doing some really high detail work forever. Like it lasted forever. It was like one brush out of like a $4 Michaels pack. Um, my recommendation is to not go bankrupt on stuff. Like, I don't want to be like almost feel like it's disparaging to be like, you want to appreciate the good tools at first, but you probably don't need the fancy tools until you've used the bad ones for a while. And then, like, when you first switch to a sable brush, you're like, oh my God, this is incredible. Um,
I
so
agree. Switching from a synthetic brush to a sable brush can go a long way. And it's a lot of just like once you know how to take care of the tools you have, the higher quality things go a long way. Um, the only thing that I would add on to that really is don't lean into super glue. Super glue is seems like it's the right place to go, but plastic cement is just usually way cheaper, lasts way longer, and you use way less of it individually. Um, and it's it makes your models actually stronger, especially if you're working with plastic. Resin models don't work with it, but it's most models are plastic nowadays. The other thing is don't lean into Games Workshop product. Just because it's made by the same company that you're gaming with does not mean it's going to be the best stuff. I happen to have my tool drawer right here, and I
Oh,
have Tamiya cement.
yes.
This stuff is great super glue. These are Army Painter clippers. They're not the ones that I use anymore, but these are a great starter set. This is the X-Acto knife I've used. This is again the Army Painter X-Acto knife. They work great. I was given this at one point, which is just like another knife, and this works just as well. I don't love this one just because it doesn't fit in my hand very well, but it's a good one to have. Oh, and the last one to think about, get out of, stop running from me. Tweezers go a long
Yes.
way. Tweezers, and then if you want to start drilling your barrels early, a pin vise. I literally use 2 bits on this thing, and that's all I touch with it. Do I have anything else in here that's noteworthy? Oh, I got this other cheapo X-Acto knife that works just as well as any other X-Acto knife. An X-Acto knife, an X-Acto knife, an X-Acto knife. Those are the great places to start. Nail files are also good if you want to start like filing stuff down. Q-tips can be useful.
Yeah, those will get you so
And
far, and you can get all those tools for not even $100 for all of that stuff. Like
you could
the
get
glue's cheap.
most of that for under 50. I think. Glue's $10, X-Acto knife $10, clippers are maybe 15.
Pickup
Nail files
going.
you can go to like Walgreens and get them for $4 for 30. That's an exaggeration. I don't actually know how expensive those are in like
Hmm.
big packs, but they're not expensive. All right, on to the next one.
Yeah, let's do it.
W- What new faction would you add to 40K?
Hmm. New faction. I mean, all right, there's one question I know that's later that this might be skipping ahead of that, and it is Skaven. I think Skaven. Who was I talking with? Oh, I was talking with someone just yesterday about it would be very funny if it wasn't even that Skaven survived until the 41st millennium, but that they literally time traveled from Sigmar and they just dead ass
Yeah,
just appear. They
I
would
would
not have
love that.
survived they would not have survived on Earth or continue to survive, but I think that would be extremely funny. I would love the way that
I
would
think that'd be amazing.
connect things. Yeah, I mean
That sounds
like
like it would be a lot of fun.
earlier I would have said something like Imperial agents, like actual Inquisition, but like Imperial agents is not a real codex. Um,
I
but I
mean,
wish it like I
not
think it
really.
would have been cool if they could have tried to do something like the way old Gene Stealers were not playing the same game as everyone. I think it would be really interesting to try to make something like a very subterfuge based Imperial faction. I think that would be neat.
I think that could be really cool. Honestly, the one that I was waiting for got announced like a month ago. So I don't have a what I'm waiting for now. What do I want them to add at the moment?
I mean,
Emperor's Children are
I'm
coming around.
word bearers is I guess probably the next big chaos faction would be either like Skaven would have a better reception, I think, and I think that would allow some interesting crossover. I don't know if market from a market viability standpoint that makes sense because there are lots of Skaven models out there, and but
I don't think they
yeah, I
would do
guess
that
word
with
bearers.
Skaven. The War Barrels would be cool. I think Skaven would be a lot of fun. That would be an interesting place to go. But just like the Chaos specific factions, I think like War Bearers, Night Lords, um, Iron Warriors. I could never remember which one's which. Just like each getting their own rules would be, I think, really cool.
Iron Warriors are like Wario because they're the evil version of the Iron Hands.
Wah! So next one. What faction would benefit from an expansion of their available models?
I mean, what's an easy one is like World Eaters, Votan, obviously. Um, I'm trying to think of a faction that like ought to be more.
My
I
answer is
gotta
all
think
of them.
about this one.
All of them except for maybe Space Marines. There are too many
Hmm.
Space Marine models, but almost every other faction could benefit from more models.
Guard might be okay
These,
too.
yeah, guard might be okay. I can't imagine a situation. I guess Eldar would probably be okay. Like they have a lot. They need refreshes on a lot of models before they need new models.
I guess something that probably could use one would be like Chaos Space Marines because they're used in so many other like the way they don't even really ally in, but I think you could make more Chaos Space Marine models that were easier to just have you've got a I don't know a a new kind of demon engine or something that fills a gap that can be allied into all of the existing factions. That would be a way that could make a lot of sense. That could use some more models. That's not just the inefficiencies of just the inefficiencies of they're not going to release 25 models in a new release. I mean, what's interesting with the Emperor's Children is because they have some default case Chaos Space Marine stuff that will ally into it, and they seem to be leaning really into the allying the demons into it as well. That way, um their model range is actually quite large, even though we're only getting like, is it 3 characters and 3 sets and the Primarch?
I don't know. I didn't actually look at like what's
Something
coming
like
out.
that.
I've seen what they've announced so far. But when they did World Eaters a few years ago, they're like, here's Angron, here's the one that you know are coming. Like, here's Angron, here's Karn, here's Corn Berserkers, and here might be like the beginning of Eight Bound, and then there was a character that came out later, was the guy on the Juggernaut, and then from there was not a whole lot kind of expanded. Like the Eight Bound are all one kit; they're just built different ways. I do wish they had like Juggernaut riders as a part of their army rather than being a like one dude. So one
Yeah,
dude on a
just one.
Juggernaut.
Like, what are you gonna do? Put him by like, and of course you don't put him by himself because he does he give his unit
And
scout?
I think he gives some units scout. It's weird. But like he also moves 10, and the rest of his unit moves 6. Usually,
Yeah, get
it's very silly. I think everyone
well.
could use more models. Anyway, on to the next one. Um, do you think Big E, the Emperor, and Erna ever tried to make babies traditionally?
Absolutely, absolutely, 100,000%. Um, I think the real imperial thirst, or imperial shit, I said that wrong. The real imperial truth is thirst. I think the only way humanity even stands a chance of calling, like even with exponential population growth, the only reason they stand a chance is for humanity just to be the horniest they can possibly be, because the world is so depressing and would be continued to be so depressing that I don't see that the emperor, the embodiment of the aspects that are most needed in mankind, is not a horny bastard. And so whoever that person is, um, because I'm a big old faker and I don't know who that name is, but I know there was some lady that the emperor was like married
That's
to or
Erna.
friend, something like that. Yes, no. The imperial
She's
truth is
helped
actually
develop the
thirst.
Primarchs.
Yes.
Erna's the one who helped develop the Primarchs, and I wanted to think that she's the horny one. Like he's sitting there like, we need to make these super soldier guys. They're like, just put a baby in me.
It's like Big E, there's other ways, dude, there's other ways we can make some get I can give you some sons. Well, we've also seen in the End and the Death part 3, we've seen that the Emperor can conduct himself in duels um across innumerable dimensions simultaneously. So, yeah, I'm sure that at some point while genetically splicing all of his sons, he was also getting busy with Edna or whoever.
All right. What are your personal headcanons for the missing Primarchs? Or what do you think happened to the lost Primarch?
Um, I know there was one where there was a some sort of like I know there's some hints in the lore about some sort of psychic um infection which would require someone to like not only them being destroyed but people who know about them to be destroyed. Um, I think that's possible. I like the idea because I know that there's some as hot button of an issue it is, oh man, we're getting controversial here, but that there might be a legion of female space marines out there. I think that would be a good way to introduce them and not have to completely retroactively add them, but I think it would be really interesting if, why wouldn't there be?
I I agree. I like that idea. I think that's a good way to like bridge that gap. There's a fictional, or not a fictional, a fan-made Primarch faction. It's the Krakenborn that I really like.
Ooh.
They're a female Primarch, mixed gender Marines, um, and they're like vaguely aquatic. They have very similar like tones of the Alpha Legion, but they're cooled and darkened a lot. Um,
Oh.
which I really like the style on them, and they basically kind of fucked off. They were almost like the original traders, but they didn't fall to chaos. They just went, "I disagree with what you're saying. You're
That's
not good."
That would be a really
It's just like,
interesting, I guess, so almost like a fourth Grand Alliance, basically, would be like unaffiliated. Like the Imperium is, and it would be an interesting way to move the lore forward is the idea of these sections that are not even like maybe not even disagreeing, but they're just like the emperor is not doing anything. Like the Imperium is so big and it's crumbling, we have to make our own little thing, like an actual Imperium Secundus. I think that would
yeah.
be interesting.
I think that'd be a really. I think that's the way it is. I would go on a random political tangent for a second. I don't believe that any large political body should exist. The larger the space that is covered, the larger the population that it addresses, and the more that it struggles to meet the needs of its people. And the Empire of Man is the epitome thereof. All right, more Primarch questions.
Oh yeah,
If
let's go.
you, Jubilee, Titan of Joy, were a
Ooh.
Primarch, what would your legion be called?
I like the like my default answer is just basically Rainbow Warriors, but that seems too easy and too gay. I would like the
It is
idea
also a thing.
of like a Titanborn. You just said Krakenborn. How about a Titanborn? And they're like big motherfuckers. Like think of like Cataphracti as like the default. Like they're not quite like
I
knight levels, but like they're like big motherfuckers and they're just all about they're it's like a combination of the vehicle obsession with like Iron Hands. Is that Iron Hands? They're kind of more vehicle
it's one of
obsessed.
the iron ones.
But but it's like kind of still like a personal martial vibe where they're like all tech priests and they yeah, just imagine like a default like heavy Terminator deal. And then they go up from there and they're like in twos and threes and they're like their whole deal is like very yeah Titanborn and they're trying to personally become maybe they're like trying to personally become dreadnoughts in and of like make themselves dreadnoughts.
So lore tangent because I don't go on those nearly often
Hell yeah.
as someone who actually reads the stuff. There is a chapter that is actually a canon chapter that is very similar to that. They are the Carcharodons, the
Oh,
shark
is that what
boys.
they are?
Uh, yeah, so they're very Terminator centric, and their leader, I think it's Tiberius the Red, is actually so huge that his power armor is a combination of dreadnought pieces and Terminator armor. So
See, I
basically,
thought
you just
people
want
I
an
thought
entire.
huh. I thought people liked the space sharks because they were like it was funny to say space sharks or something like that. I didn't Now I gotta
I
read about
mean,
them.
that's why I like them. Um, yeah, the Cardons are fucking awesome. I would probably be something witchy. Um, I want to say the Death Witches, but that's like a little on the nose. Probably in like black and white trim. Um, and a lot of psychers.
Mm.
A lot of
Yeah.
psychers. Because
Gameplay would be
I
cool to do like, and maybe this isn't what you're thinking of, but gameplay would be cool to have your like heavy weapons in the things not be like your psychers are not necessarily like the leaders of those, but they're like revered in the group. So they're like your heavy weapons are your psychers, and they're all like aspiring to be psychers among them.
Yeah, like you have your character leaders, like your captain and stuff, are psychers, but then like you have a normal Marine squad that has just like your standard bolters, and then instead of having someone carrying around like an assault gun or a melt gun, you have a dedicated psycher whose whole job is just to melt shit with their brain. I'm here for that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
that's very much what Ninth Edition Thousand Sons were like, and I miss it. Give me my stuff back.
I hope
Give me
they
my
put that
Mortal
back.
Wound bombs. They won't. They shouldn't. It's not congruent with the rest of the like game design and like I'm glad that they are sticking with moving away from that. I hope that they rebalance the Cabal points and give us some more dynamic ones. My personal hope is that instead of having them attached to the faction, the individual rituals are divvied out to each different detachment. So, like, you have the Cult of Magic, which has the current listed ones. You have a Cult of Duplicity, which gets another set of them, and so
Oh,
on.
like your army rule is just each battle round you have 15 cabal points or something.
Well, it's like your army rule, like the core army rule is right now the main detachment has these flipped, and I would love to see them just alternated. So the psychic attacks do either lethal hits, sustained hits, or devastating wounds, or on psychic attacks. That is the detachment rule in the current one. I would like to see that as the army rule, and then the detachment rules for each of the different detachments be the list of Cabal spells or what the Cabal points can be used for, shifting between them. I think that'd be a really cool way to design that. I spent a lot of time thinking about game design, don't mind me. All right, what is the best faction to start with in 40K or AOS?
I mean, my default answer is always like the easy one to start with is Space Marines, just from a practical point. There's lots of stuff. It's easy to collect. It's easy to find people offloading them. However, the thing that most allows you to stick with a faction, because like what you're gonna do is you're gonna save up, you're gonna go spend $200 on models immediately, and you're not gonna have a full army. And so you're gonna have to, even if you get that painted quickly, which you probably won't, you're going to have to eventually get to it. You need more than just, I want to play this army, or it's easy to paint, or something. Like, you need something that keeps you going because your first army is going to be a slog to get on to get on the table, to get good with it. And an army that you care about for reasons other than getting it on the table. Because I've done both things. My initial army, Sisters of Battle, fucking loved it. It was a delight to paint. I was having so much fun building it up, even though it wasn't playing super strong and at the time, and it was doing okay, and I was figuring stuff out. But like what kept that going is was that interest in it. Whereas as much as like Space Marines, I painted a Space Marine and a beautiful like with like this prismatic shield and this cool glow, and it was like super easy. But like, and I have another one sitting right there, and I was just like, I don't really want to paint another one. Um, so while Space Marines might be a good one to start with, if you do what I did for my second army, which was get an army that I was not aesthetically interested in, not super enjoying painting, which was the Gene Stealer cults, you're gonna sit on that army forever, and you're gonna lock down a bunch of money that you could be using on other things. So while it feels like the cop out of just play what you want, man, really the hobby has so many aspects. It's really nice to have multiple reasons to be interested in your faction and the hobby.
Yeah. It goes a long way to pick something that you are aesthetically, mechanically, and artistically enamored with. There are some traps that I would suggest that you steer away from unless they are distinctly in that category for you. A lot of people will be like, oh yeah, knights. Knights are a quick and easy army to build. It's only four models and you can paint them up pretty quickly. That's not true. Four knights is 200 or $150 a model, and they're big and they take a long time to build, and the number of times that I've helped people build knights because they're such a slog to go through.
Yeah.
Um, and they're just not fun to build unless you like to build those big models. Custodies are a similar one. People you hear that yeah, they're a really low model count army that makes them cheaper. It doesn't make them cheaper. They just put less models in the boxes, and you still pay about the same price. And you just spray paint them gold and you're done. There's a lot of additional little pieces on the model that you want to get painted. And if you just spray paint them gold and call it a day, it definitely doesn't feel great, but it's a good way to get an army on the
Also, a
table,
can of
basically.
really good gold spray paint is like $40. It's not, you're not going to get a $6 bottle of Rust-Oleum and do a good job with that. Like, yeah. Knights are the other thing too. I
Yeah,
think knights are a good, like an experienced builder and someone who's good. Like I could put together I bet I could paint a Chaos Knight really quickly because like after all these years, I have like a really good base, like a really good patina recipe that I would do everything and then do the trim and a couple of the armor panels and a few special effects. But like, I think that is what happens. Is a lot of people like knights are a good, probably like third or fourth army. To like an experienced hobbyist
they're
could put
good.
together a knight's army very quickly because they would wait until they were not paying full MSRP. And honestly, at a certain point, you probably pick up a knight anyway, and then you're like, oh, it's actually quite simple to flesh this out into
That's
an
why I
army.
have knights. I got a knight to play alongside my Thousand Sons because I'm like, I want to add this to my list and go, oh wait, these are fun to play. Now I have six little knights and two big knights. They're fun to have. You could get them secondhand really easily, but they're not a good starter army, despite
Yeah.
what a lot of people will tell you. And again, custodians have a very similar. If you like them thematically, and you like their play style, and you like them artistically, they're great. I love my custodians; they're a ton of fun to play, and I enjoy painting them. But I don't think they're a good starter army. I really don't.
I mean,
Um,
I think I would say that Sisters of Battle are not a good starter army because they're really small, they're really complicated, and you need a lot of them. Like, they're like two-thirds the size of Space Marines, and they're more complicated than Space Marines. The reason they worked for me because I was so into painting them, and I loved collecting them, and it was like these rules are good rules and they're but like that's an example of a time where if you hit all those big you hit all those big key things to keep you interested in it, you can make something work.
Yeah, then on the AOS side, this all of this applies to Stormcast and Gargants as well. And they're actually even harder to paint than Knights
Being
because they're all skin tones.
a huge dude, no thanks.
Yeah, it's just one dude who's like this tall. I paint demons, and I would rather paint a demon than a Gargant any day of the week.
Any day.
There's just less there. Um, And I mean, like, there's honestly more to paint that is just kind of difficult flesh tones on a Gargant than a Greater Clean one. Same base size, but it's all vertical. Yeah, that's my hot take on that.
Oh yeah,
All right,
you
this
get a
is
look
one for
every time
someone.
right before you ask a unhinged question. You get this mischievous look and I go, uh-oh, here it comes.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. I'm debating because this is from someone near and dear to both of our hearts. But I'm going to not say who to let you guess. Where do babies come from?
Oh well, when when a space marine and a hive world love each other very much. Something something gene seed. Something
The
something for
correct
the
answer is
emperor.
that. Something, something, something. Only death is to the end. All right. What is your favorite unsolved mystery in Warhammer?
Oh, I love that in in the birth of the Sisters of Battle lore, there is this famously, I think it was Trajan Valorous, took Alicia Dominica and the all of the saints that are in the Triumph of Saint Catherine. He took all of them in to see the Emperor, and we don't know what happened. We know that when they got out, Alicia Dominica, who was so loyal, like Trajan Valorous like comes to her contritely to be like, Goj Van Dyer, this horrible the heretical ecclesiarch, is such a piece of shit. Please, like, please, will you stop supporting him? And she's like, I respect you, you're great, but no, I am loyal to this. And so he takes Delicia Dominica into the Emperor, and we don't know what happened. It's so delicious because I have a million theories on what happened, but like maybe it was just that meaningful. Maybe like what if the Emperor revealed himself? What if after because this was like I think in 3600. So what if for 6,000 years he was able to like say a word or maybe even more. Maybe he did a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe like there's so many possibilities. Like she could have just realized that wow, no, this is what the leader of the Imperium should be. Which again is it's so complicated because like what if oh, it's just great. It's such a good it's such a good in a setting where everything is over the top and everything is explained, leaving that like just that being this yada yada yada. That's not yada 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 is disrespectful to that because it's just they're just like anyway after this big meaningful thing, you're like what the fuck happened? We don't know. I don't think we will.
My my personal headcanon of that is you know the scene in the movie Megamind where they go into the like superhero who's faked his death and is just kind of living in there and he just walks in behind them in his bathrobe, kind of like, oh, you're not supposed to. That's what I imagine happened. The Emperor is just like the whole thing that's sitting on the throne is fake. Like it's just like kind of a figurehead, and
He's
he
just
just walks
relaxing.
out. He just kind of becomes like, "Oh, I would have gotten dressed if I knew you were coming."
It's like usually there's a big old ceremony when someone comes in.
Oh, and that's just what I imagine. And then like they had a healthy conversation about it. I have no idea. I was going to make a joke about Armin's library card, but I'm not nearly as invested in the lore as you are to have a unsolved mystery, except for maybe like the Lost Primarchs. And they're
Aramin,
not a
there's
mystery, ambiguous.
God. Aramin is a surprisingly large character in the End of the Death Part 3. And but he's like he's spending the whole time in a library. He's in a library
Yeah,
until Horus falls.
I
There's this
have
scene.
a couple of the Armin books up here that I need to read, and your partner has the rest of my 40K books besides those,
Oh,
because I brought them down there for her like 6 months ago. Because she was like, I need something to read. Here, take my collection.
here's
Here's
my
my
lore.
library. Have fun. Um, but yeah,
There
it's
you will appreciate this though, but in that book, there's this scene where Armin like he goes into this library, in the Imperial Palace where these characters and I don't know who the other people in that room were. They were these random humans. And he's like researching something and he's like they're helping him like pull the Imperial Tarot, which is actually connected to what's happening. And at one point he's like, why are you guys so scared? Because he's like literally a skeleton, like a skeleton ghost just sitting there. And there's a line where and he like projects skin like over his skeletal form. And he goes, is that better? And the narration goes, it was not.
it was not.
And they're
That's
like,
amazing.
let's just tell the first captain of the Thousand Suns. Yeah, that's better, bud.
I love that. That's amazing. Orm is my favorite character for a reason. Um,
I
Magnus
need to
may
re
have not done good. Magnus may not have done a lot wrong, or at least the things that he gets blamed for are not wrong. But he did a lot of really terrible shit, and Orban is always going to be pissed at him for it, and I love that. Um,
Armin was a character in probably the worst Sister of Battle book I ever read. That's just so long, and he just like shows up at the end, and he's whiny, and he's like complaining, and he's like trying to steal Saint Catherine's shield for an unspecific reason, and then they make it like I know they didn't kill him in that book, but it really sounds like he dies at the end of that. I'm like, what? They didn't.
it's Armin. He cheats his way out of shit all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Um, Circling back to some future questions, what are some minis you'd like to see them make, but GW has not made yet?
I'd love like I don't think it's a necessary thing for a lot of factions, but I would love a generic. I don't know what the word would be, but like an imperial cultist something. Like not actually cultists, because I don't think regular folks are generally that fanatical. I think most people who get that fanatical get used elsewhere. But I think that would be an interesting model to have, an interesting like it would also be useful because lots of different factions could take it. I've said that I would love Ex Repentia Sisters of Battle. I think that would be really interesting. Like maybe sisters who put their power armor back on, but they continue to be like very melee focused, but they're like not the paper, paper tissue thin armor that they are. Um,
Mm. Give them chain swords and a 2-up save.
I mean, even just chain swords and two upside, or maybe even like I don't know,
Give them
you could give
Repentia
them
with
an
power armor.
yeah, Propensity with power armor. Just if you make them almost the same, but give them they move the regular. They don't move 7 inches. They move six. They have a 3 up. 3 up, 6 up. I would just love something with two fucking wounds. That would be so nice. Like, what if they're so
I'm
tough
starting
after?
to
What if they're so tough after having fought for so long and survived with no armor? Now they have armor, and so 2 wounds, please.
yeah, let them keep their feel no pain. Give
I'll
them the
pay
crit save and
180
feel
points
no
for
pain.
that.
All right. I have so many models I would love to see them make. I want Doom Siren, the biker character for the Emperor's Children. I'd like to see Rylanor, because I think that would be really fun to see Space Marines get Rylanor, just like as a floating character who could just join anything randomly.
Mm.
Um, Eidolon, we might be getting an Eidolon. Anyway, I would love to see Kahetani, which they technically exist in 30K as an upgrade sprue for regular assault marines. They're basically jump pack dual wielding sword psychers
Yes,
for
please.
Thousand Sons. Yeah, they're dual wielding Kopashes with jump packs, and they are all psychers.
What was that word
They
you said? Kopachis?
Kopash.
I know what that
They're
is.
called Kahetani. Hetani is the name of the unit. It's just made up 40K world. A Khopesh is the type of sword. You know, the Thousand Sons have it kind of sticks up and then it does one of these
Oh, yeah, yeah,
type
yeah,
of
yeah.
swords. That's a
Oh, the
Khopesh.
the Egyptian style of sword.
Yes. So they
Cool.
dual wield Khopeshes, um, and so like the heresy rules for them basically make them go faster while also giving them access to a psychic gun.
Damn.
And they're really good. It's just I want a melee threat in Thousand Sons. It just doesn't exist, which is really frustrating because the army winds up being really slow, and you don't get any teleports in the current iterations. I miss my teleports. I miss Cult of Duplicity. It was my baby. I love Cult of Duplicity.
I think it would be, I would like to see some kind of, I would like to see fortifications that make sense come back. I understand why old fortification rules didn't work or something, but I think that would be messing with the battlefield feels interesting to me.
I think that they should take the AOS approach to fortifications within reason, and just make them free. You get one. You only get one, but you get it for free. You get a shield wall. You get one shield wall, you place it somewhere, and it's there. The shield wall is a little weird because it moves, so I don't know if that would be like quite the same because it's more of a unit than it is a like terrain feature. But like Nurgle demons could take the feculent uh, biome, the trees, little tiny trees, and set them up. Just they don't do a whole lot, and it gives them a reason to exist, and they're interesting. It lets you reshape the battlefield. It allows you to apply terrain rules to things, and just like I think that would be a really interesting way to make fortifications and things like that matter. It's just you bring them with you. They're terrain pieces there that you have applied.
I mean, you could make like Aegis lines for the for like guard and space marines and stuff. You could do little like chaos and imperial shrines for certain people. You could do, I mean, it could be as simple like they could be. Like it'd be interesting if they were fortifications in terrain, but I just think it would be interesting to have static buff things that you could drop somewhere and had to think about where you're going to do them. Maybe maybe they're, you know, they could be like ammo supply drops that come in or something at a certain
And
point. And
rerolls it. I think that's a really interesting game mechanic that they could explore by factoring that into being an element of the rules rather than that. It's also a really good marketing strategy for them because faction terrain for AOS means that if you want to play an army, you have to own the faction terrain effectively, which is a nightmare as a player, but it drives up market share for GW. So it's the type of thing that I'm surprised they haven't done yet.
yeah,
All right. Was it Magnus's fault, or is the Emperor the worst dad ever?
I'm sorry, you cut out at the beginning. Can you say that again?
Was it Magnus's fault, or is the Emperor the worst dad ever?
The Emperor. That was the Emperor's fault. I'm
Yeah,
not
he's a piece of shit.
like
Um,
if your Primarchs can't even know that chaos exists or know that the Webway project is happening, why wouldn't Magnus have communicated with that? Like, yeah, you'd be a little upset, like, but he didn't know that the warp was evil. He didn't know that him contacting the Emperor would have broken all of the for some reason it broke all of the work that the emperor was doing on the webway project and caused a trillion demons to come into the imperial palace. Like just tell, and like it's not even that it was like once it happened, like half the reason some of the primarchs even fell was because they didn't know that chaos existed. The emperor's awful.
he's a piece of shit. He doesn't even know how to govern. He's not a good leader. He's a good dictator because he's good at dictating, not because he's a good leader.
He's a good general and he's a good scientist, I guess. He's very good at that.
Yeah. When you have infinite time, you will eventually be able to make science happen.
True. I
Right?
mean, that's probably it. He's probably just been around for 10,000 years or
Hundreds of
much
thousands
longer
of
than
years.
that.
It's,
Tens of thousands
there's
of years.
speculation that he's Jesus and Alexander the Great.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fucking ancient. All right. Who are y'all's most unhinged hear me out in 40K?
Ooh. Oh, and 40K? Hmm.
We'll do the same one for AOS.
I mean,
I don't
I'm
know what
literally reading
actual.
a very boring book, but it started talking about these like sexy demons that were literally gutting people, and I'm sitting there like, interesting. Unhinged, hear me out.
I mean, I'd argue that demonettes are not an unhinged hear me out. That's kind of
No,
the
that I mean
whole
that's
thing.
the spirit, the horse of that. Oh my God. Guys, Robin Hood, the Fox Robin Hood. I know I'm so weird.
God. There's just not enough women.
And
Um,
Raptress.
for Lower Raptress.
We're getting a little
That's a
more
female,
unhinged there.
technically.
But
And these
but
are
I want to be the
unhinged hear
harp.
me out.
Hold on, but I want to be the harp.
Rip me open and stretch my tendons out. Play me like the fiddle. I'm just trying to think. Like, Fulgrim, post-transformation?
That feels like saying Ursula, which I don't know if that's an
I
unhinged
mean,
Disney take. Because I find Ursula very attractive.
fair. So then the trade-off is pre-transformation Fulgrim. Which of these is more unhinged?
I don't know the answer to that. He's just a
I'm trying to.
pretty
One
man.
of them like a tradition. One of them like traditionally attractive
Okay,
man.
I
One of them
will
is
say,
a
I guess
traditionally attractive man with a
Snake
snake's tail.
Snake Dragon Man, I guess, is more unhinged than just a pretty man. Um,
She got that cloaca.
Jesus Christ.
I was gonna say like she'll actually Hellbane would be
Yeah. Again, it's just
that
like,
hair.
I mean,
It's
every
a step
bisexual's
on me
dream.
mommy type of situation.
Yeah. Impale me,
Step on
mommy.
me mommy.
Wait, not like that.
Shellac is like 40 feet tall. Shellac is the size of a knight.
That's true. All I wanna do is see you turn into
22. A giant love. It's really hard to find like unhinged, especially as lesbians.
the
Like,
Benefictus. Because big brains, because I'm a sapios.
so
Benefic.
I don't remember, there's an obscure character that shows up that is basically like a pile of sentient worms that is from like an alien race and just like is wandering around Mars for some reason. I don't remember anything beyond that. And I could be having this completely mistaken. That guy.
Guy. Belisarius call.
I was thinking we should do one of those hear me out cakes at one point, just because it would be hilarious to do.
Actually,
Just
I'm now thinking that as YouTuber as this is, a tier list of how unhinged your hear me out is better than having a. I think that would be very funny to argue about how, one, to set our standards for what's completely hear me out versus.
now I want to just find a bunch of like really successful hear me out cake videos, and then just do a tier list of how unhinged those specifically
That's a meta-analysis.
meta-analysis of how unhinged people's belief on their unhingedness is.
Death Leaper.
All right. Ooh,
Or no, wait, no, a neurolictor.
Neurolictor?
I'm neuro lick lictor. Uh,
Rodigus.
Ew. No. I mean, that hand though.
Ugh.
Uh,
Dude has like three mouths and four eyes.
and a bunch of open
It's wild.
wounds.
Postulating. The only thing he wears is a loincloth that covers just his back. All right, anyway, let's take this to the other side of things. AOS, most unhinged, hear me out.
I don't know a ton about the Morghasts. I'm into all kinds of vampires, but also the weird one.
Morgeths are bone creatures, but I get it.
Wait, which ones am I
Um,
thinking of?
Morgeths are the big stompy things with wings that I threw at you that one time.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of, they're the like slightly like reptilian looking vampire. A vampire that's not just a person, but they're like getting more elongated. Hold on.
Neferata is one of the Mortark um, of the Soulblight Gravelords. This is one of the ones that
Nasarada.
I tried to sell you on to play Slow White Gravelords was Neferata.
Oh,
N
Neferata.
E F E yeah, Neferata.
Neferata AOS. Da 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 da. Yes, absolutely. 1000%.
Um,
Oh. Lady Olinder. Into it.
Lady O. Yeah, I could go for Lady O.
Not the only O she's gonna get.
Morathi.
Ah, da, 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 da.
Laukavai. That's another one. I'm all for the monster fuckery.
I don't know
Or the
enough of
Shadow Queen. Marathi and the Shadow Queen. But they gotta come as a pair. Technically
exactly.
they're the same entity. There's a lot more unhinged like
Does it count as a
most
threesome if they share a soul?
Shayna just said something in response to that, didn't she?
No, I'm just that pleased with
Okay.
myself.
Well, knowing that she plays that army, I was like, she might have some input on that.
Shayna, is it
Uh,
count as a threesome with the Shadow Queen if they share a soul? She says she'd die happy. That's a good
I
answer.
believe it. That's a. It doesn't matter. Die
Hey, die
happy.
happy.
There's some other interesting ones that happen in AOS that like actually exist as like usable things. Like the crone. Um, it's big wing lady thing. There's a lot more like diverse models that exist in AOS.
And a lot more like women.
A lot more women, yeah. But also a lot more like two-thirds of 40K is Marines. What's the difference between one Marine and another Marine? They're Marines. What's the difference between a witch elf and a Stormcast Eternal? There's a difference. I'm actually feeling a difference there. Um, before we move on to the next one, Lumineth cows, and then anyway, all right. If you had to live under one faction in the
Ugh,
40K universe as a regular human person, which would you choose?
feels how?
That makes sense.
Hear me out.
I
I'd
would
be
lean towards
Jukari furniture.
I would lean
Skip to the
towards that.
furniture part.
Yeah, skip that. How did we fucking forget the Jukari? Lilith has rats.
Not a hear me out. Get out of here.
True.
Talk to me when
Rat,
when you say Arax.
rats. Thank you for reminding me of what they were. My next one was going to be the Talos.
Well, yeah.
All right. Same question, AOS. If you had to live under one AOS faction, what would it be?
Regular person under a faction, probably like the Realm Lords. They seem very clean, and that's the main thing that squigs me out about any time you go back in time. I'm just like, oh God, they probably don't even take baths.
I would lean probably towards City of the Sigmar because it's just a city, or one of the Death factions because then I'm just dead
Oh,
and
I'd be
I don't no longer.
I'd like to be just a grunt working for the Caradon overlords.
Yeah, just like shoveling. All right. Do you prefer two ply or single ply?
As many ply as I can afford.
Yeah, the more the better.
More the
Just
merrier.
kind of general. All right. How much cheese is too much cheese?
Honestly, an ounce is too much. If you're doing nice cheese, at least. Um, Everyone always lists that as an ounce of like nice cheese is way too much. I was a former cheesemonger. An ounce is a ridiculous serving portion because you're always going to be like, well, I want three different things. 4 ounces of cheese is a quarter pound of cheese. That's a lot. It's like 550 calories or something ridiculous. That's too much. I want to taste cheese. Do not want to stuff my face with fancy cheese. But if it's like queso or cheap melted stuff, go nuts.
I I have not ever been a cheese fancy
You're
person.
not allowed to answer. No, I'm just kidding.
My my answer to what it is there too much cheese is two bites after you've realized there's too much cheese.
Exactly.
Do you like the Gladiator movies?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Gladiator movies.
They're fine.
I haven't seen the
Do
second
you
one.
think? Uh, yeah, I haven't seen them in a decade at least. They're not movies that I go, I want to go watch that, but if they're on, I'll watch it. Um, do you think the Golden Throne will get fixed or fail?
I don't think it can ever really go away. I think something will happen. Like the Emperor can't really go away. I mean, like, it already kind of doesn't work in a lots of places, when you're beyond I can't remember if it's the Great Rift or what it is, but there's already places where it kind of doesn't really work. But I feel like it can't exactly go away. So I figure they'll find a new way, like a parallel way to sustain it. But the Emperor's questionable status is kind of instrumental to the way 40K feels and works.
I think I'm of two minds. I think that it will get fixed in lore if it doesn't if the story progresses. One of the interesting things about 40K is because it spans such a long period of time in a, a time frame, they don't have to actually move the timeline forward at all, ever. But if they ever do move it forward at any point, I think it gets fixed because that's just like the reframing of the Imperium to be the good guys, whether or not they were ever intended to be. A lot of the modern media has kind of got that perspective that these are the good guys, whether or not they actually are. They got to do the thing. It's kind of tropey, and I hate it. I think that in reality, it wouldn't get fixed. It would fail. And I think that would create a better story, but it doesn't create a good product story.
I mean, and worse and more common technology is not getting fixed. Like things don't get fixed in 40K. They tend to just continue to break down. So I can't imagine something that the Emperor himself was. I literally talk like a 40K person. The Emperor himself built that thing, and like Malkador's the best psyker who ever existed. Beside, wasn't he considered maybe even better than the Emperor as far as psyker shit does?
If I remember correctly, Malkador, like the Emperor isn't the best psyker. He's just a very good psyker.
Yeah.
Um, well, Malkador is like, hi, I'm casting mind bullets across realms of reality. Don't mind me, type of quality.
Yeah. I don't think that's just getting
Yeah, it's. I
Although
think
I
the
do agree with
story
you.
is going to fix it.
It would be more interesting if it failed and they found a new way. But part of me is like, I mean, if they can't travel, it just becomes the dark Dark Age again, whatever, where all the worlds then become isolated and solo, and I don't know.
I don't think the story is going to progress to the point where anything changes ever, but if it did, I think they're going to fix it, and I would rather it fail. Does Vulcan live?
I don't know I don't know. I genuinely don't know anything about it. I think Vulcan should live. I think we need more of
So,
the Loyalist Primarchs to come back. I think
for the
they're
record, this question was written in all caps. I don't know why.
yes. I don't sure.
Here,
I
I
think Vulcan's
continue.
alive.
Vulcan's a perpetual. He's supposed to be alive.
Oh, why would he be
Mine,
dead then?
so he's missing. Um, and supposedly there's a bunch of different ways perpetuals operate. And my understanding is that Vulcan like is absent, like he's just not in the universe until a certain series of events happens that brings him back.
Hmm.
And that's why the salamanders are hunting Vulcan's artifacts, to try and like bring him back.
Gotcha.
Um, is kind of their thing. But I would love to see Vulcan back. I would love to
Yeah,
have
he would
Vulcan
be a
walk
cool.
in and be like, "Hi." He'd be a great contrast to the Lion and Gilliman,
I
at the
think,
very
and
least artistically.
I know, I'm sure I've said this in your presence before, but I weirdly, even though I don't like the Imperial Fist and I don't like the Black Templars, I want Rogel Dorn to come back. I want Rogel Dorn to come back. Someone told me it's like, but they found his hand. He's definitely dead. I was like, then he has the Claw of the Emperor. I want him to come back, have the Claw of the Emperor. I want him to not be happy with the Black Templars. I want him to say, absolutely not. My real sons would not do this. And then you've got that interesting little skill, and he probably will also be practical and be like, I mean, I'm not going to say they shouldn't be in the Imperium, but like you're doing this wrong. And then what do the Black Templars do with their faith at that point? Because they fucking love Rogel Dorn, but they probably love the Emperor more. But that makes them, come up with a fun fake Latin word like legio excommunicatum or something, where they're like not allowed to call themselves sons of Dorn anymore.
I personally think that we're going to get Vulcan will come back, Dorn will come back. I really want to see Corvus Corax come back. So what I expect will happen is we'll probably get Dorn, and then we'll get it's Erebus who's in the tower with Corax, right? We'll get Erebus
That
somewhere.
yeah. Well, Erebus isn't Lorgar is the Primarch. Erebus is just the
Lorgar, right? There's someone, it's either Lorgar or Erebus, it might even be both, that are trapped in a tower in the warp, and Corvus Corax is harassing them and not letting them leave. Corvus Corax has been in the warp for thousands of years at this point and has also mutated. So what I
oops.
expect will happen is we'll get Dorn because we seem to be getting them in alternating patterns. We'll get here's Imperial, here's Chaos. Here's Imperial, here's Chaos. We're getting Fulgrim next. So next we get Dorn. Because Dorn is like we are cognizant that he's somewhere around. Like there's a real probability to that. So Dorn comes back. Then we get Lorgar or Erebus or both, whichever it is actually in there, escapes Corax, and then Corax come back to fuck up.
To file, yeah.
Uh, so
That
we
makes a lot of sense. I dig that.
so we get Demon Primarch Corvus Corax.
The Imperial Demon Primarch. That's fucking cool.
That's how you get me to play regular Space Marines
Right,
GW.
right.
Even prior Corvus Corax, I have a pewter cave-in strike model still
Whoa.
because it was one of the very first models I got when I was like 15 and first tried to play 40K. Um, and then I was at a bit swap and someone had it, and I went, I need that in my life.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, I'm really excited. Raven Guard are actually one of my favorite theoretical Space Marine factions. All right, that's tasting paint.
It's tasting paint. Uh, uh, Cardinal Purple Vallejo Express Paint.
Vallejo Cardinal Purple. I got this here. It's scale 75's Prussian Blue. I love this shit. It's like wildly tasty. I don't like that that's an opinion that I have on a paint, but it's fucking delicious. Is Angron so angry because he stubbed his toe on the coffee table?
No,
He stubbed his head on the coffee table. That's why he has the nails.
obviously his head, yeah.
If you got isekai'd, what kind of world would you want to end up in?
I mean, I very much like. I don't just like the Bleach world because I think Soul Society is cool, but I like the way there were like different ways to become powerful in Soul Society.
Random tangent. I just finished my not quite rewatched. I finished the first half of it a long time ago, and then I just finished it like 2 days ago of Bleach. So
Don't
I'm
tell me what happened
watching the
because
new
I'm
show
actually
now.
super behind. Um, I just got Hulu without ads, like without ads, because I can't watch a 20-minute episode with 5 ads into it. I will set my own self on fire. Um, but I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
like,
rant about this.
yeah.
But if you do that, let me know. I want to discuss with you. I am underwhelmed. That's all I'm gonna say.
I feel like that's
Um,
everyone's saying constantly. They're like, Bleach could be so cool, but they just never. Yeah. So we'll see.
they did the Thousand Year Blood War, which is they're redoing or they're doing a continuation of it now, and it's like an active, ongoing thing. And I watched the
Nice.
first couple episodes of that, and those are very much feels like the first seasons of the show. Um, I would get dropped into One Piece because I just like One Piece and I like the ocean. Put me on an island and I will steal a boat within 6 months.
Incredible.
I will form a pirate crew. Just let me live on the ocean. I would be so happy. Instead, I almost bought a houseboat at one point instead of this house. But
Incredible.
I'm gonna skip down here a second. If you were for isekai into the 40K universe, what planet type, i.e., Forge World, Hive World, Feral World, would you like to go to?
I mean, I'm always just thinking about safety, and it's probably a Forge world. I'd probably want to be just like a medium worker because I am not brave or mighty. If I was Isekai with powers, I'd want to be, yeah, frontline, fucking shit up.
If, if I got isekai, I would probably live on a Hive World. Probably just like a Necromunda style Hive World. And if I had powers, I would just be there and be like, hi, I'm a psyker. Fine. My bullets! Alright.
Lightning bolt, lightning bolt.
What is what is your favorite baked dessert?
Baked dessert. Apple pie, but it can't be that sweet. I don't like a lot of sweets or baked goods in general.
I like cake, not chocolate, usually like white cakes. Have you ever given up on a mini when painting it, and what was it?
Probably not really for 40K. Usually by the time the things that tend to frustrate me about models are usually like if I give up on something, I will rapidly reduce the effort I'm putting into it to finish it off quickly. There was a very long time ago I bought like a decent like Primark size dragon model that I still have around here somewhere that I was trying to do something that I was not technically competent to do. And so I bought this big mini, got it on its base, primed it, started painting it, got like all the wings painted before realizing it wasn't going to work. Um, and I did give up on that many. But I don't know that I've really given up on any 40K. Like usually it's just like the main reason I would have given up on something was because I started painting I guess my exorcists, but they like indirect fire got worse and they got more expensive, and so they just weren't something that I was running. And now I just had need to go back and eventually get them painted. But it wasn't an artistic reason that I gave up on those. How about you?
Anything corn related. I have so given up on is a strong word. I didn't give up on them. I got them to a point where they are playable and don't look like shit. But I feel embarrassed to play with them on the table. Exactly why, a large reason why I stopped playing the Demon Jail list
Hmm.
because I hated how they looked. I hated painting them, and it was not a very fun playstyle. So I have 2,000 points of corn demons that I gave up on because they look good enough. they're legally playable, but they they're still primer. If you, I mean, didn't use a black primer to paint a black model, you wouldn't know that they are done.
Mm.
Um, like
No, no, yeah, because they're you
other
just spray
models.
paint. Yeah.
Yeah, I prime it black and then go, okay, this is all going to be black. I'll put on another coat later. I'm going to do this other stuff first just to make sure it's done. Okay, it looks good enough. I'm not enjoying this process. We're going to go on to the next one. And I painted 18 models that way.
Oof.
Fucking hate those things. All right.
1 second, Dana.
In all of,
How many more questions you got? Because we're at over an hour on this part of the recording. I know we didn't
yeah.
record too much.
Um, not too much. I've got maybe eight.
Do you want to
Um,
start doing? Do you want to try to do them a little more rapid fire?
yeah, we can do that. In all of 40K, who are your top five characters in no particular order?
Ooh. I really like Call. I really like Alicia Dominica. In spite of everything, Ursaka Creed from Fall of Cadia, it's the kind of character that I never like in a book, which is just the gruff, hardcore general or something. He's so likable in that at the end. Like, and he's not because he's a badass, but because he's that good of a general. He doesn't draw his pistols until like a demon prince is in front of him. He spends the entire 13th Black Crusade with a pair of hell pistols on his hip that he never pulls out. He's so fucking cool.
That is
That's
awesome.
three. I think Magnus is a really tragic character. I think he and honestly, Horace, like the end in the death shows you Horace's internal mind in a really interesting way, which is well, they also do it artistically. It's really cool because the whole book is written like any other book that you would, but it switches to second person, describing the thing. Like, so it's not just what Horace believes, but what you believe because it's written like that. That was really interesting, and it was just like the whole time he's just like, I just want someone. Like, I would forgive all of these people if they would just, yeah, it's like if they would just admit that they were wrong or admit that they done something wrong and, or, he loved like, he fucking loved Sanguinius. Then he fucking beat him to death with them all. How about you?
Yeah, 40K is very tragic. Ahriman, Kairos Fateweaver, Shalaxi Hellbane. And I had them and then I forgot them. Conrad Kurz. I really like Kurz. God, I can't even remember her name. The captain of the World Eaters.
Oh,
Yeah, the woman who just like
Lanka,
stood up to Agron. Letitia Thurin.
yes. Lore Tisha, that's her
Just
name, yeah.
yeah, Letitia. She just like Agron is like demanding shit of her, and she goes, "No, fuck you. This is my ship."
I'm
To a
the
fucking
captain,
primer. This is my ship. Go to hell.
the
All
mortal
right.
ass woman, such a badass.
Yeah. Who is the most tragic character? I'm assuming they're talking about 40K, but it doesn't actually clarify.
Um, Mortarian's is pretty sad. Like Mortarian like didn't want to fall to chaos and didn't want to, but like they got Mortarian and the Death Guard got trapped in the warp. They were being eaten by Nurgle, and to save their lives, he pledged to Nurgle to save them, and now he kind of hates what he's become because he also didn't like psychers, and now they're all psychers. Well, psychically powerful.
Ahriman. Everything that man tries to do backfires on him. He tries it, and everything that he tries to do is help his brothers. He tries to help them, it backfires. He tries to help them, it backfires. He tries to help them, it backfires. It always gets worse.
Because he's the one who got them turned into dust, didn't he?
I believe so. And what he was trying to do was teleport them off planet, and
Yeah.
in the process, they all turned to dust. Um, and he did the same thing with the flesh change. Was the same type of situation. The swearing allegiance to Zeech was partially Armin's doing. It's just like such a tragic character. Similar note, who is the most deserving of?
Hmm.
I've got mine.
Oh, go for it. You go for it. I have to think about that.
The Emperor.
Ha! That's the best answer.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy in particular. All
Yeah, I'm
right.
like I was trying to think of that
G-
because like they yeah, no. I'm selecting that answer too, the Emperor.
Which books are would you say are the must reads for a Warhammer fan?
Um I got two answers. The first one is to be really kind of caught up on some of the more significant modern lore is The Fall of Cadia. I can't recommend that book highly enough. It's a really well written book and it's very relevant to the destruction of Cadia at the end of the 13th Black Crusade is really important. It's got lots of cool stuff. I mean, it's got Trays in the Infinite and Call. It connects to their storylines. It
Hmm,
connects to
excuse me.
you've got Celestine coming back. You've got like there's a lot of important stuff that happens in that one. Um, did you say important or recommended beginner?
Must reads.
Must reads. That's probably my main must read. I really like The Triumph of St. Catherine because it is basically a collection of short stories woven together because it's literally all the people in the processional sharing a story about St. Catherine. And so it's really digestible, but it's not just random story. It's not just a list of random stories. They are like thematically all connected to the main story. And it was the first 40K book I ever read, and I loved it.
I'm going to give you a completely contrasting different answer. The rule book. Read the fucking rules. All right. This is another one from someone that you will get a kick out of. What
Fantastic.
faction would be the best at Vor and why?
I think the Eldari because they've done it for longer. That's so then that in like it's not. I think the Eldari because they've been doing it for the longest amount of time. They're not doing it to feed a actual like physical hunger. Like Tyranids would sound like it makes sense, but they're doing that because they want to consume biomass, not for the reasons you should. And they're not doing it to serve Slanesh. They're doing it for them. So Eldari,
It is not a kink for the Tyranids, and it's a job for the Drukhari.
exactly.
Um, I I would wager that the Drukhari are the best at it because they do it so much,
Mm.
but they don't do it as a pleasure, like for them. Well, I suppose they are probably relishing in the pleasure of it as well. That's kind of the whole like
What is
deal.
like, do they like it? Like, do they have to learn how to like it, or do they like it and that's how it keeps Slanesh at bay? Or are they like secretly horrified at what they're doing?
I'm curious if the culture of like I imagine the first batches of Drukari probably were like, we have to do this, we don't want to.
Yeah.
But over the course of generations, culturally they've adapted and now it's just like a part of being Drukari. It's the thing that they do. Um yeah, that's why the Drukari, I think, are the best at war. Um Does the existence of the Dark King imply the existence of the Milk King and the White King as well?
100% baking king. Yes.
The Bay King?
Why not? Baking. Damn it, that's funnier than
Bay
my
King.
joke. Even though I technically said it, but it was not my intent.
We love you, Kim. Thank you for your unhinged questions. What would you say to someone getting rid of miracle dice and replacing them with someone else or something else?
I think there's a good uh, I think there probably needs to happen. It needs to be something like turn into something like pain tokens or have maybe detachment specific. That's probably too much, but like I think manipulating dice in a dice game is messing with an RN. Like you either need to have the RNG aspects go away or you need to have the what am I trying to say? Like yeah, they should probably go away. The reason they're hard to balance is because, right now, sister, you'll get like maybe like say like 8 miracle dice or something. If you roll all sixes, your miracle dice are crazy. When you get all ones, they're are practically useless, which is why I like the effects where you can just discard a miracle dice. I think that weirdly might be what makes them too powerful, is that your bad miracle dice can be very useful. In fact, because you don't have to sacrifice a six. I mean, you could, but why would you? But like, you're making the choice of do I just use this as a regular thing or do I use it as a, uh re-roll, increase the number of attacks that Morbid Vault gets. I like the idea of them just being like faith points that you can like exchange for something. I mean, I don't love it because I did like how Miracle Dice worked, and I liked the feeling that the more you died, the more powerful you got, the more powerful the survivors got. That was interesting to me, but I don't.
I've never done that.
Clearly, there's not an easy way to balance that, or possible way
Yeah,
to balance it.
they're a complicated mechanic. I really like Miracle Dice thematically. They feel really good. I think you have to completely rebalance the entire faction if you get rid of them. But the existence of Miracle Dice are going to always make Sisters a threat to the metagame, which
Yeah.
means that they have to be very particular about point values and make them it, like Scissors are always going to be either pretty medium or very good, purely based off of the existence of Miracle Dice. And I think there's a lot of merit in replacing them with something else. I think that you're replacing them with something very similar to the Zeech detachment rerolls of instead of getting a set number, you get more Miracle Dice, but you get them as rerolls instead of set numbers.
I could also like that
And then
thematically, the idea of the presence of a miracle empowering an entire unit rather than just one gun that gets lucky. Like in a weird way that makes it feel like it's luck as opposed to power. I don't know if that makes
it does.
thematically that feels
I
different.
ultimately I think the whole thing just needs to get rebalanced and just kind of redesigned from the ground up,
I
which I
want a
don't
hundred
expect to
girls
be
on the field
happening.
again.
Maybe in 12th edition. All
Yeah,
right, how do you feel about Skaven in 40k?
I want them. Oh,
Touched
we
on this
talked about this at
earlier.
the beginning. I would love that. That would be so fun.
Rats. Who is the hottest HQ?
Ooh.
HQ being leader characters.
The hottest Alariel.
I can see that. L'Oreal is definitely up there.
Triumph of St.
I'm
Catherine
gonna
is
go
six and
with
a half women, so that's pretty good.
half women. I mean, you're not wrong. I'm going to lean in on the Slanesh side of things and grab the mask.
Ooh, okay.
I like those extra arms.
Hell yeah.
All right. This is our last question. Like I said, we were almost done.
Sisters, simply for sisters, they were well, like I talked before about how I was super into the lore, but like I was super into the lore and actively despised the game. Like not for a great reason, but just because I'm just like this game seems really expensive and really complicated, and these people are a lot about it. And you always hear the stories about the that guys at events, and I'm just like, nah, I'm not really interested. And that when Sisters got released in 2017, I felt that resolve crack. And so when after I played one or two games with what my friend's army, I was like, I mean, it's not a question that Sisters of Battle are going to be my first army. Gene Stealers were because I love weird gimmicky gameplay. I did love the way old Gene Stealers played, combined with the fact that I got a great deal on, it was like 1,700 points of Gene Stealers for $300. And it was like a really balanced group. And it was yeah. Well, and then yeah, you helped me with a couple of chunks of that. But yeah, that initial chunk that this local guy was
You
like,
get a
ah,
good
I've
deal
got
on
like, and it was like, what's happening? Oh fuck yeah, let's go.
that.
And Death Guard
That
was
was
just
what
because I
got you to like
painted.
do it too.
What's that?
That's what like got you to do it was like that deal existed and you're like, I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And then
Well,
I
I
just
was
went, sure,
like,
take some more.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I guess I was like, yeah, this will take me a while. It's gonna take me forever to paint these, and then very quickly I had 2,000 points of Gene Stealers that I just got painted in November, maybe
And
December.
then you didn't have 2,000 points anymore.
Yeah, thanks, Codex.
And
But
then
yeah,
you were
I'm
focused on your
looking
death
forward
card.
to them. And Death Guard was just you'd given me a typhus character, and the main thing that kind of made me not like a lot of Chaos Space Marine factions was the fact that they were locked to a color scheme. So I went completely off book, did a wild color scheme that I have probably never had as much fun painting that one because I painted turquoise armor, a magenta cloak. I had like purple tentacles and like green slime, and I was just like delighting in it the entire time. And when I finished, I had one of the best models that I'd ever painted, and it felt like it was just such a joy to paint it that I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do all of this, and I'm working on my Death Guard now. How about you?
I I could just summarize most of it as ADHD. Um, I got handed Necrons, I played Necrons, and then I started researching my like what I wanted to do. The Thousand Sons Codex was on its way, so like I want to start working on that so that though I know those are coming, I want to play that. That looks like it'll be fun. Um, and then about a month after that codex came out, I had a full 2,000 points painted army. And I got a lot of motivation to keep working on them because we do a best painted competition at every one of our tournaments here, and it's always voted on by the players. And I won best painted reliably for a while because a lot of people have a lot of respect for the trim. Thousand Sons are a lot of trim. I did a lot of high quality stuff, and that motivated me to practice painting and get better and better and better. I wanted to try Sisters, so I picked up Sisters. I bounced off of Sisters. I played them for about 6 months through a league. Had fun, but I didn't like love them. They just kind of sat outside of that. Um, I got Grey Knights about the same time I got into Thousand Sons. I have since sold my Necrons, Grey Knights, and Sisters. Um,
I have some
then
of your sisters.
I you do. Then my stuff got I got into AOS. I moved into Arizona for about 9 months. While I was down there is when I sold most of my sisters, and I got into AOS. I picked up INS Deepkin just because I needed something to remind me of home, and I love the ocean. So I went here, let's do this, and now my INS Deepkin look like they're standing on the bottom of like a rocky bed in the ocean. I love that aesthetic of them. Um, and I moved into my OBR because I saw a list that looked like a lot of fun. And then I had a series of events where someone was willing to trade some of the remaining sister stuff I had for their OBR. So I wound up with a bunch of OBR, built that, played that, fell in love with that faction. And I ended up moving back to Washington and got robbed on the way. Well, I got robbed. All of my OBR got taken. My Thousand Sons were at my mom's house because I had visited before and left them there, knowing I was moving back. And I got up, everything got stolen. I get an insurance payout, start replacing my Thousand Sons, and I'm going, or not my Thousand, my OVR, and I'm going to build demons because it'll cover two bases. I want to play Disciples of Zeech in AOS, and I'll just build a demon army in 40k, which I did. And then my friend Josh, Mr. Fish, uh, found the person who stole them on a Facebook group, and I was able to get 95% of my models back.
Nice.
Um, and that's why I have 10,000 points of Bone Reapers. And all of my stuff is still here. And through that process, and actually how we wound up interacting was my Celestine had won. I won a paint like a bigger painting competition with my Celestine, and it was how we found my models was that Celestine in particular. But her sisters were missing, and I was that like every time I looked at that model, it hurt. And then Jubilee's getting into the game and playing Sisters. Here's everything that I have that Sisters have left. Put it in a box. Mail it. You could have my Morven Vol. You could have my Celestine. You've got to fix resist. Here's like 10, 15 Sisters. Here you go. Um,
What's wild is like there's
and from
no
there,
way I was gonna go to that first tournament. I wasn't gonna be ready. I wouldn't have had 2,000 points if it wasn't for that. Who knows if I would have got stayed with 40k after that.
yeah, I'm really happy. Like now we're doing this. This is the
Crazy.
thing that we do. And so then I went to Demons, and I really fell in love with playing Demons in 40k, and I just kept branching out and branching out and branching out. And then there was a really good box for Votan that came out that I was like, I'm going to grab that. Two of those, I have a Votan army. Sold the Votan army about 2 weeks ago. I got into Custodes because I wanted a art project that was just a dedicated art project that I can just spend time working on. Um, when I sit down and paint one of my Custodes, it's a 20-hour process for one on a line infantry unit.
See, you all think I
Like
have a lot of armies. Everyone's always like, "Oh my God, how do you paint two?" Like, are you kidding? This is who I'm trying to keep up with over here. You see what goes on.
I have the attention span of a squirrel. I also I theoretically have a enough to run a Eldar army through my
What?
kill teams because all of my kill teams are elves. I play a lot of kill team. We have a pretty regularly a kill team league that I've helped run just because I enjoy it. I play a lot of the game, so
Tristy
I
got me.
have
I got this for my birthday or Christmas. Can't remember which. I need to put it together.
I love kill team. It's actually a ton of fun. I have uh, the Blades of Cain. I have the Mandrakes. I have Harlequins. I tried doing Harlequins at one point. I never got to 2,000 points, but I had fun building them. And I kept enough to run a kill team because I got into that because I loved playing their kill team because there's a very good kill team in the previous edition. Yeah,
Ooh.
I have hobby ADHD. Right now, I'm
Oh.
playing Mordheim with a bunch of people. And I just started my third warband for Mordheim, which is going to be Sisters of Sigmar. It, I have a problem. ADHD. I have hobby ADHD. Well, that is all of our questions.
Yeah, thank you
Um,
everyone who sent those questions. It was a very kind of off the wall sort of thing. This has been a ton of fun. I'd love to keep doing that. So keep following me on all the things to try to see, next time we do one of these, we should make this a semi-regular sort of thing.
Yeah, if you have more questions, hop into the Discord. Join us. The Discord will be linked in the description of the video and the podcast. It'll take you to the Glittervoid website under Jubilee's name. And on that page, about halfway down the page, there's going to be a series of icons. There's the Discord one. If you click on that, it'll also take you to Jubilee's TikTok, the YouTube channel. I think it's still set to your YouTube channel. I'm going to set it to the podcast one here soon.
Sure.
And the website also has a link to the podcast. It'll just play on there for you. If you go there, join our Discord. It's a lot of fun. I'm really bad at managing it, but I'm doing my best. Um, it's a great group of people. Come hang out, ask questions. We'll do
Yeah,
another one of these
absolutely.
soon. Um, any other shout outs you want to throw into this, Jubes?
No, just that with the last time we recorded, we were like, well, TikTok's about to be banned. And now it's kind of back. So that's the main place I'm active. But it's probably it's probably in everyone's interest to follow people on multiple platforms. So you can find me at Titan of Joy, or Jubilee Titan of Joy on almost all the places. I'm on Bluesky. I'm on Xiaohongshu. Yeah, but it's mostly going to be on TikTok. Until that becomes insufferable.
And you just got a Twitch. We're going to start
Yes.
doing these on Twitch and just live streaming through there, probably.
Yeah, I'll
Just
start doing
taking your,
some
your
some
normal stuff.
painting. Yeah, doing it there.
Nice. I've actually uninstalled most of the social media in my life, so I do still have profiles on everything, but I'm not checking them right now.
Imagine having
Probably,
self-control. Couldn't be me.
I don't have self-control, I have depression. It's actually been great. Disconnecting from social media has been really nice. I don't wake up and immediately feel the urge to doom scroll. I wake up and I start doing things. I
What's
still
that
am
like?
doing.
Also couldn't be me.
It's fun. I'll probably be back on social media here shortly because someone's got to post all this stuff. But yeah, your Twitch Titan of Joy.
Yep,
And yeah, I think that covers just about everything. Thank you all for listening and watching because we're on camera now and it's
I know.
still very surreal.
You see, I'm at my
Um,
ADHD, yes, and I'm fiddling with things. I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just stabbing pieces of cork with various tools.
I have food right next to me that I brought in here to try
I'm
and like
so hungry.
nom
We gotta
away.
go. We gotta go. Let's say the thing.
Plastic within.
Plastic without. Bye.